We look forward to you spreading the news. After today, we're going to be spreading out our leaflets. And I must tell you, we've taken on board some of the things you've said, because the last time we would start it, we would stop it, people would complain, they need more time, they need more time. So what we've done is we're running it across the Easter holidays through to early June. We're hoping on the World Environment Day, which gives the students enough time during the holiday. You can give it to all your students as assignment for the summer holidays, for the Easter holidays, to go back and actually produce something. And hopefully they will end up being a winner. So without further ado, I want to just declare the opening of this session. And I'd like to hand over to Mr. Desmond Majikudumi for his welcome address.
Hello, everybody. But before I go, you see, she couldn't introduce herself properly because she has to be modest. And the reality is Dr. Pamela Ajayi is a medical practitioner, a doctor all the way. But guess what? She is also an amazing poet. And it was when I heard this poem that she had created way back, I said, wow, I've got to get closer to these people. So before I come on, we're now going to invite Dr. Pamela Ajayi, the poetess, to recite her poem for us.
Thank you very much, but I actually think we have something better. We have actually got a dance recital of this poem. So rather than me reciting it, why don't we just watch as we have Sarah Bullos giving her dance interpretation to this poem. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, but I actually think we have something better. We have actually got a dance recital of this poem. So why don't we just watch as we have Sarah Bullos giving her dance interpretation to this poem. Thank you very much, but I actually think we have something that the truth of justice poem as we have Sarah Bruce giving up the interpretation to this. I trust what wants more. What is the way it should be. I can live at night. Like the different to work for the gas and I trust I trust I was so much work. It's
Echoes of what once was, whispers of the way it should be. I can remember at night, my forgotten beauty brought to life by the dancing lights on my glistening path gently towards the sea. Reflections of the way it used to be. Please, I despised by day, and I thought you were going to exploit those who do not understand at night. My forgotten beauty brought to life the dancing my sides ragged. Within me reflects away of the way it used to be. Are there none who will care for me? None to stop this grinding cycle of destruction? I search in vain for a savior. While all around I see men feasting, laughing, living, dying. Restore me. Return the splendor that once was mine.
No negative technology fashioned against us shall prosper. That amen wasn't loud enough, guys. Wasn't that just the most beautiful poem? Oh, can listen to it over and over again. It grabs you. And possibly part of the reason why she wrote this poem is because she understands certain things when the disposition of ailment comes upon a living organism. In fact, because we're here talking about environment issues and climate change, which was brought about by global warming, I'm going to now refer to the medical practitioner. Dr. Pamela, if a person comes to you presenting a bodily temperature of 37 degrees, yes, would you be alarmed in any way?
Not 37, no.
Not at 37. But suppose that individual now came shaking a little bit and you now saw that the temperature being presented was 38.5 degrees.
I think certainly there'll be cause for alarm, yes.
That's coming from the medical practitioner. Cause for alarm if your temperature goes above the average just by 1.5 degrees. Well, there should be a lot of cause for alarm because guess what? The temperature of this magnificent miracle of creation that we call our planet Earth. And by the way, You can japa around Earth, but it's very difficult to japa outside of the Earth. Or can you go and live on Mars? Or Saturn? Or Pluto? It's our only home. And yet, we're pushing the temperature above average to a state of crisis. Because by the time a medical doctor sees that your temperature has gone beyond that 38.5 to 39, you're in trouble. And they know you're in trouble. 39.5, you're already in the emergency ward. Because you're not created to survive with that kind of average temperature. The temperature of our Earth, the average temperature of this planet that supports our life has gone up already by over 1.2 degrees centigrade. And it's shooting towards 1.5 degrees. Emergency room. That's where we're taking the planet to. And unfortunately, they sit down, look. In fact, the Secretary General of the United Nations says that we're heading straight along. We're hurtling towards a precipice, a cliff. And guess what? Our foot is still on the accelerator. Okay. At least you think by now our foot will at least come off the accelerator and we're going to press the brake. No. We're just going. The poison, the amount of CO2 that's been put into the atmosphere now, not to mention the massive deforestation tearing down nature anyhow, and the species extinction, it is unprecedented in the history of this earth. And they have archaeological evidence to show. That's why also coming from the United Nations is warning us that mankind is waging war against nature. And this is suicidal. Suicidal. God forbid that suicide shall be our portion. And a very mighty amen. That amen is not very mighty. So, my dear people, this is why we're here. We're here to just understand the implications of what we are doing to this, our only planet, to this, our only home that can support life. And it should humble us a little bit, whilst I'm very proud that I am, a born Nigerian, although I'm not sure if I'm a Lagosian anymore, even though I was born just down the road. I'm very, very proud to be a Nigerian because I know the wonderful potential of this country, what nature has endowed Nigeria with. But at the same time, when we see our planet from space, it's just a tiny little speck, just a tiny little blue speck. And we're all earthlings. And our mandated duty is to care for the earth. It's there in every scripture. It's there in the Holy Bible, it's there in the Holy Quran, it's there in the Bhagavad Gita, it's there in the Jewish Sutra, it's there. Our mandate is to replenish and care the earth. And we're not doing a very good job, my people. So today, we're going to hear some very, very interesting talk. Oh, yes. We're so privileged to have in our midst and in our presence an icon of intellectual capacity who is going to download some information, and I hope you will hold on to this information. He is a great man who has dedicated so much of his life to bringing healing and also to prevent the necessity to bring healing, because prevention is better than dedicated so much of his life. In fact, when the COVID came, he dedicated himself. In fact, he was chasing COVID out of the country so much that he actually caught the COVID himself. Yeah, give Professor Dr. Akin Abayomi No round of applause. We're not going to clap. Oh, no, we're not clapping for him. We're going to give him 3 mighty bullseye. Let's go. Bullseye. Bullseye. I want to invite onto the floor.
Yeah, let's reconcile. Then, bond wall. Shawalani bond wall. Bond wall. Adron Homes. 200,000. 200. Gas Tamerlane, 5 million. Techno, 200. Citadel Food, 200. Emerald Continental, 10 million. Citadel. Oh, I don't want to share. Boomri. Citadel Food, Polile. Okay, Emerald. Top deal. KZN. CC&C, our colony. Climax, our colony. Fortron. Emerald Continental. Climax Pharmaceutical, 500. Real. Climax Pharmaceutical. Okay. Emerald, Fifth Logistic, Gas Tamerlane, Go Brook Invest 100,000. Top Gels International, 200. Adron Homes, 500. Zamak Estate, 5 million. Okay. Okay. Synagogue Church, 5 million. FB Coral, 100. March. Kudos, 100. Brain and Hammer. Jade Tipa. Ẹ má máa gbé àwọn ẹrù ní ilé printer jàre, àwọn ọlọ́run mọ village food, ẹ má máa gbé báàgì ilé printer rẹ̀. Ẹ má tí kẹ́ni.
To operate within a certain physiological range. And that's for us human beings, our temperature must not exceed 37.2 and shouldn't go below 36.9 or something. If it goes below or above that, sometimes we go to the hospital and somebody's temperature is 38 degrees and everybody panics. And somebody's temperature can be 36.5. And you should actually be even more worried, because when your temperature drops like that, then something very, very serious is wrong, just as bad as when it is high up. But we are in critical times, and there is no doubt about it. And every day you can switch on your television and you will see some kind of climatic aberration or some kind of consequence of climate change. And so let me just speak towards that in my presentation. And this is the One Health paradigm. So I'll control it from here. So as doctors, we now realize that you're not on your own, that you must understand the concept of the fact that as a human being, you can only be healthy ecosystem. And so there are some linkages that you need to understand. A poor environment makes poor people. So Pamela just alluded to the fact that the north of Nigeria is drying up. So when I was young, Lake Chad was a very huge lake. It was almost as big as a state. And it fed 50 million people, either from Fadama farming or from fish. If you go to Lake Chad now, it's like a little pond. And all the land that used to be, all the area that used to be water is just bare, dry sand that cannot sustain anything. And so what happened to those 50 million people? Did we teach them some alternative means of livelihood? No, we didn't. And so the poor environment in the north of Nigeria is leading to poor people. And poor people go into conflict with other people, and that results in some of the issues that we've been debating about for the past 2 or 3 years. And people don't see the connection, and you've got to see the connection. Poor people don't just appear. People don't just start fighting over land and grazing rights and things like that for nothing. There's a reason why that's happening, and you must go back to the root cause if you want to find a solution. So as I said, you can only be as healthy as the food you eat and the integrity of the environment in which you live. Now look at this place, for example. If everybody could wake up in the morning and hear the birds singing, breathing fresh air, you have somewhere to do some exercise, you probably have your little vegetable garden there, you're growing your own food naturally, you have some chickens roaming around. There's no noise and there's no stress. So when we talk about the environment, we also need to understand that if I now go into a very crowded place in Lagos or anywhere else in the world, I'm going to be stressed. And stress is a cause of illness as well. So we talk about the integrity of your environment. So we are the earth. And every single day, each and every one of you, you replace your tissue, either your skin, your gut, your abdomen. Different organs in your body are replacing themselves every day. And you actually change yourself every 5 years. So if you are 25 now, when you're 30, you're not going to be the same person. Your entire body structure would have recycled. And what are you recycling it with? You're recycling it with the earth. So what you eat comes from the ground. It's not manufactured in heaven or anything like that. We actually, everything you eat is a product of agriculture, which comes from the earth. Either you eat meat, the cow or the lamb or the chicken must eat something from the earth. You eat vegetables, it comes from the earth. The vegetables get their minerals, their substance from the earth. So you are the earth. Let me take it even further. You are the universe, because the earth is part of the universe. So you'll be shocked to understand that when you touch yourself, you're actually touching atoms and molecules that have existed for trillions of billions of years, circulating around the earth. The earth dust comes in from the universe. So we're all part of this universal ecosystem. And so if you try and separate yourself from the earth, you're making a big mistake, because you are a derivative of the earth and you were born that way. And at the end of your time, which we will all have an end of time, you're going to go back to the earth. But while you're living, how healthy is your earth? That's your body. Your earth can only be, your body earth can only be as healthy as the earth that you depend upon. And so if the earth that you depend upon is sick, either with poisons, or the air is poisoned, or the food you eat has too many chemicals in it, or the environment is too stressful or toxic, then naturally you will have reduced health quality. Now, you look at yourself again and you think, wow, I'm Aki and Biomi. But inside Aki and Biomi are billions of microbes. These are what you might call them germs, but they're actually fantastic for you. They keep you alive. And 90% of you is germs. I'll show you a picture in a minute. And these germs are critical for your survival. And where do you get these germs from? You get them from the environment. And a healthy germs in your body is dependent on a healthy germs in your environment, because that's where you get it from. And poor agricultural practices produce poor soil. And the soil, you think that this soil here is just soil. No. If it is protected, it is a life on its own. So this is your body. In your mouth, your skin, your bladder, your digestive is full of what we call microbes. You might call them germs, but if you don't have this, you will not survive. And they help you in so many ways. They help you with your digestion. They send messages to your brain. They boost your immune system. If you have a healthy microbiome in your lungs, in your gut, in your bladder, then you are a healthy person. And sometimes when you go to the laboratory for tests, and let's say you do a stool test or a urine test, they will tell you that there's a healthy microbiome. It didn't mean that they didn't find any of these bugs. They did, but they're normal. And some of our practitioners in less informed environments, when they see this, they'll say, you have infection. Then what do? They give you antibiotics to try and kill these normal microbiomes, but that's absolutely wrong. And a lot of people that use antibiotics all the time, they're destroying this system. And if you destroy this system, you make yourself unwell. So inside the soil, you have the same thing. You see that combination of bugs, and there, this is much richer than here. This soil here is bad. This soil here is good. What made this soil bad is the fact that they put too much chemicals on it. They maybe use too much fertilizer, pesticides, herbicides. So all these bugs have died and are here now. And you can see that the plant is not very healthy. Whereas if you have a healthy soil with healthy microbiomes, you produce healthy food, which makes you healthy. That is one of the most profound concepts of One Health. Okay, and look at it here. Inside the ground, you have all these minerals and bugs and everything, and they're able to produce plants which are either consumed by you or consumed by animals, and it goes over into your human being. And when we say that you're consuming a normal, healthy diet, then you will be preventing yourselves from getting sickness in the future. And sickness can be sudden, it can be medium, or it can be long-term, depending on how chemicals accumulate in your body. So for example, in your bones, you can accumulate poisons that you have eaten in your food for years. And those poisons just build up, especially in bones and fat. So the biodiversity is very important. And if we're destroying our environment, then we are forcing animals together in small spaces. And when we force animals together in small spaces, different kinds of diseases start to spread. And then they spread to human beings. And then things like COVID, cholera, flu, Ebola, Marburg, they all come from the environment that is unhealthy. And so if we start to deforest, so see, these are some of the activities that cause problems for the environment: overpopulation, unnecessary overconsumption, deforestation, energy pollution, increasing size of our cities, and industrial activities. So everybody, every human being has a footprint there. So the fact that we have 25 million people in Lagos means that we have 25 million, 50 million feet like that. And every human being has a footprint. Those of you that came here this morning, you either use public transport or your car, you burnt petrol, you made breakfast, you put on electricity, you had a bath, you used water, you put chemicals, soap in the drain. So each one of you is producing a toxin that is affecting your environment. And an environment can only carry a certain amount of toxin before it starts to disintegrate. So how we talk in ecological terms, how heavy is your footprint? Do you have 10 air conditioners in your house? Do you have 4 generators? Do you have 5 cars? Are you consuming electricity all the time? Are you consuming a lot of water? Do you just eat and throw your food away? What is your attention to the impact of you on the environment? So this is what our forest cover used to look like in 1920. And you can see that we had over 700,000 square meters of thick forest across Nigeria. And this is 2013, 10 years ago. Look at where we are now. So, and it has even gone further. It's almost below 5%. So we have actually totally destroyed our forest cover in West Africa. And this is a map of West Africa, which is creating an abnormal environment. And then you get your climate change, you get your heat, as Dr. Desmond was talking about, which causes fires. You get your flooding. So what are we going to do? There are 2 possible outcomes. We do nothing. Global warming continues, deforestation continues, erosion continues, desertification continues, we continue to lose lives, and then we eventually lose the planet. Or we can intervene. We can put in place environmental sustainability plans. We can reverse the greenhouse gases. We can start reforestation, and that will end up with preserving life. So we need to pay attention to our forests, and we need to pay attention to our oceans. They're very important carbon sinks. As you grow forests or these kinds of trees, they are absorbing carbon and pushing it into the ground. So it's a carbon sink. The ocean as well is a carbon sink. And you will take the carbon out of the atmosphere, and then the earth starts to cool down again. But it's not going to happen by itself. Somebody has either got to protect these forests, somebody has to replant the forests that have been destroyed. We're not going to stop the Sahara Desert from coming south by 15 kilometers every year unless somebody plants the forests that we've destroyed. And we've got to start planting from the south and going all the way north. We just have to reverse the damage that we've done, and it's not going to happen by itself. I actually protect a forest somewhere in southwest of Nigeria, and it is hard work because you have to do 2 things. You have to stop people from coming to cut what's already there, and then you have to replant the places that have been lost. And unless you do that, everybody, it now needs to become everybody's business that we reforest. So this is Lagos. And as you can see, Lagos has a very heavy footprint. Each and every one of these human beings is producing carbon dioxide, is producing chemicals and toxins that goes into the environment. And it affects the environment. And if it affects the environment, as I said earlier on, it will affect you. ultimately your health will suffer if we do not do something about this. So this is the city center of Lagos and reasonably planned, but we need to spend more time as government working on the solution. So for us, the One Health paradigm operates in about 4 ministries: Ministry of Health, Ministry of Agriculture, Ministry of Environment, and Ministry of Justice, because we need to write the laws that protect the environment. We also have the Ministry of Physical Planning and Urban Development. As we develop, as Lagos grows, it needs to grow in a planned manner, being cognizant of spreading everybody's footprint in such a way that it doesn't poison the earth. We need to start thinking about green buildings. You can't keep building glass houses and putting 20 air conditioners in them and having 4 generators in the back. No, that is no longer sustainable. We have to start building like this, where we're actually outside, covered by trees, and I'm quite cool. I don't need an air conditioner. And we used to huge amounts of diesel through generators, and we're pumping carbon dioxide into the atmosphere and making life worse for us. So we need to go back to this kind of architectural design with gardens, with trees, so that the trees cool down the buildings and cool down the earth and sink the carbon at the same time. We cannot move ahead with concrete jungles. We must have what's called urban greening, which is over there. We have to pay attention to the quality of our air. And whenever I drive past somewhere and I see a generator that is blasting black smoke into the air, I just call LASEPA. I give them the address, they come, they inspect the place, and they shut down the generator until you can repair your generator. The same thing we need to do with transport, with cars. Sometimes you will see a transportation vehicle driving along the road and the exhaust is just blowing out black smoke. You don't need a machine to tell you that something is wrong with that engine. And our officials should be able to stop that kind of thing and correct it. And they are doing that as best as they can, because we need to improve the air quality of Lagos. Since we know that we're in the era of pandemics and outbreaks, we need to be in a position where we can pick them up early, like we did in COVID and like we did in Ebola and cholera and all these things. Lagos cannot afford to learn about a pandemic when it has hit a crowded part of Lagos and is spreading fast. That is going to be a disaster. So Lagos is always on high alert to be able to pick up any evidence of an outbreak emerging so that we can get there before, and ideally we always try our best to prevent it. And then physical planning, as I said, and we have an agency called LASPAC, and their job is to go around planting green areas like this. And it's also their job to stop you from cutting down trees like this, because it's actually illegal for you to cut down a tree without permission. That is progress. In the past, you could cut, even if it's in your backyard, you say, this is my compound, I can do what I like. No, you can't. You need permission to cut down a tree like this that has been growing for 40 years, and you just decide you want to remove it. No, it's illegal, and the government will stop you. There must be a reason why you want to bring that tree down, and it must be a legitimate reason. And at the same time, we're planting trees. So this is some of our, going back to health now, we're replacing our old infrastructure with new infrastructure, and we're using modern green design. This building is our new primary healthcare prototype. We've just finished the design. We've just started to build some in the community, and hopefully in about 4 or 5 years, all our primary healthcare facilities will look like this. And in this building, you don't need air conditioning. is naturally cooled, and on its roof is completely solar paneled. So even if there's no NEPA, we can conduct business here. Is what's called off the grid. So it does not use fossil fuel, and it is naturally cooled. So you can be, it's like this, you'll be inside this building and you'll be cool without burning diesel or burning generators. So that's an example of where Lagos is going with infrastructural design. This is another one of our general hospitals. Again, totally cool. You can see the green design of the infrastructure. We're going to start building this any moment from now. And everything we're building now is 50% low carbon maintenance. So, and many of them have green solar panels or wind on it, or the walls are built in such a way that they reflect the sun and they take the natural ventilation into consideration so that the building is naturally cooled. So we've been able to correlate bad air quality with health. If the air quality of an environment deteriorates, we start to see increasing hospitalizations and death from respiratory disease and cardiac disease rises. So we know that this is not just, it doesn't just look good, it's actually bad for you because you're breathing it in and your body is absorbing the poisons that are in the air or poisons that are in your food or in your environment. And so in conclusion, we know that we need to go green. We know that we need to use alternative energy and transport. We know that we need to dispose of our waste properly. We need to reduce waste, and we need to start to develop our environment in such a way that our carbon footprint, each and every one of you, think of it, you need to become carbon neutral. In other words, you're not contributing to the toxicity of the environment that you live in. So the government is very serious about physical planning, is very serious about agriculture that conserves the environment, is very serious about urban greening like this. We want to plant trees all over Lagos. We've been planting for the past 15, 20 years, even during Asiwaju and BRF's time. And we've done the measurements that show that Lagos State, or Lagos, the temperature of Lagos has reduced by about 0.5 to 1 degree because of the number of trees that we've planted around. That Lagos is not as hot as it used to be. But we can't stop with here. We just have to keep planting. And then there are states around us, Ogun State, or your state, or Osun State. Lagos can't survive on its own. It has to make sure that its neighbors are also developing in such a way that there is environmental integrity. Otherwise, we're going to get flooding from these states every year. You know that there are 8 rivers that drain into Lagos State. And if those 8 rivers are subject to excessive flooding because of deforestation, then Lagos will always be under threat every rainy season. So it is important that Lagos looks at its coastal region, it looks at its lagoon, it looks at its urban planning, and it looks at the concept of One Health. And I think I'll stop there, and I'll be very happy to take questions if there's anything that you didn't understand. Thank you very much. There's questions here.
Thank you very much, Professor Akinbayomi. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sabur Garba, popularly known as King Sabrina I. My concern is about reserving the forest and as well as ocean. But how do we balance these environmental salient issues, such as preserving the forest as well as taking my inspiration from the recent happenings in Lagos. You know, we know, taking Lagos State, for example, we don't have much of marshland, and there is an issue of housing deficit. Look at the Bar Beach. Back in the day when I was a kid, we used to go to the Bar Beach, but now when you tell about Bar Beach, you say, what's called Bar Beach? They don't know. It shows that the need for creation of more housing facility for the people of Lagos has eroded, what's it called? The project at the Bar Beach. So how do we balance? We want to preserve the ocean, and at the same time, we want to preserve the forest, but then knowing fully well that there are other needs for discouraging the preservation. So how do we balance it? Thanks so much.
Okay, thank you very much. So in the business of environmental conservation, you only take what is not going to interfere with the ecosystem. So you can't keep taking from a forest and don't put anything back. So during, I think, Awolowo's time, if you took one forest tree down, you had to plant 2 or 3 or 4. There are some areas where you will demarcate as reserves where nobody should go in there and cut anything. But there are also areas where they've planted timber trees and you can go there and harvest with a license. But the general trend is moving away from wood to artificial wood or to things like aluminum or steel rather than wood or bamboo, because the supply of wood is not infinite. If you take wood from the forest, it means you have to take down a very old tree. And when you take down one old tree and then you take another one, the ecosystem starts to disintegrate. And the ecosystem is really very important because it maintains the biodiversity. So if you take down the trees, you lose birds, you lose certain other types of plants that live in the forest. You start to lose water because without forests, you can't have rain, right? So your land starts to dry up. There's some streams near the forest that I preserve. When I was starting 20 years ago, the streams were flowing all year round. Now they only flow about 4 months in a year, which means that the amount of water in our environment has gone down. And it has gone down because we've cut down most of the trees. So you can't keep taking. As human beings, you just can't keep taking and expecting that magically the environment will be okay. No, you take what you plant and you leave and you put back more than you take. If you want your environment to survive, you have to put back more than you take. If you keep going to your bank account and you keep taking out of your bank account every day and you don't deposit, what's going to come? One day they will call you and they'll say, okay, you're flat, you're in the red. Do we close your account or do we suspend your card? Because you can't keep taking because you've not deposited. And it is always better for you to be depositing and to feel comfortable that you have a reserve somewhere than to you'll be wondering every time I go to the ATM, will it be flashing at me like this? Or will it give me money? It will only give you money if you have put money inside. The same thing in life. You've got to deposit before you withdraw. And what we've been doing is we've just been withdrawing. And so we've made our environment poor. And as I said, if your environment is poor, then you become poor. It's simple. I hope you can make the connection. If you destroy your environment, you will end up with poor people and sick people. And so the link between human beings and the environment is so strong. And it is important that we teach this to our students and our teachers, and we sound it out as often. For us in health, we prefer prevention. We would rather have fresh air and an environment that's not toxic, which is eventually going to cause some kind of chronic disease or some kind of asthma or some kind of heart disease or mental stress. So for us, prevention is much better than cure. If we can prevent disease, it's better. You were talking about the oceans and the Bar Beach. Yes, I also, when I was going to school around the corner here, every weekend we used to go to Bar Beach, and then suddenly Bar Beach was disappearing. And that's because climate change is making the sea level higher. And when the sea level is getting higher, it starts to damage your beaches and it eats into your land. So when we talk about rising climate change temperatures, like he said, 1.2 degrees, it comes with rising sea level as well. And water finds its level. So if your sea is higher, it will come onto the land. And if you know, in the rainy season, when the lagoon is high, you will see water actually coming from the lagoon into the land. And water cannot flow uphill. It has to flow downhill. So if the water in the lagoon is higher than the land, then water will flow into the land. So our lagoon must go down. It can only go down if the global temperature goes down and the sea level goes down. Otherwise, building into the future, you have to build knowing that the sea is going to keep rising. So there's no point going to build on the edge of the beach. And we've seen that happening in Lagos. Within 5-10 years, the beach has moved into your garden and has taken your building away because the sea is coming onto the land. So it's all a matter. You see, this is Lagos, then there's Nigeria, then there's Africa, then there's the earth. So if somebody is pumping carbon into the earth in New York or China, carbon dioxide does not need a visa. It will find its level around the earth, and it will warm every part of the earth up, not just where it was produced. That is why we, as a global community, we can't be talking about climate change if everybody is not involved. That's why they say climate change is everybody's business. Thank you for that question.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Oshikoya Ademola. I've had Dr. Maja Kudumi on radio a couple of times talk about, which I find very fascinating. But my question is on the implementation of the environmental law in respect to Lagos State government. How far is the government willing to go in the implementation of the environmental law? I don't know if it captures the smoke that emits from the vehicles on the road. Because you find out that most of the owners of these vehicles are civil servants. If the law enforcement agencies arrest one of them, before you say Jack Robinson, they're off, they're back on the road. How far is the government willing to go in the implementation of this policy? Because the government plays a key role in this. And at a point, I think during Rajiv Fashala's government, he ensured that houses plant trees. How far with that as well? That's like 2 in 1 question. And the third question, okay, let me just rest with that.
Yes.
Thank you.
So, you know, people are government. Government's job is regulate. One of its jobs is regulation through policy. But, you know, you've got to have a population that is civically obedient. In other words, they obey rather than coming around to apply sanctions on everybody. What we need to do is educate the public and explain why you cannot have an unserviced generator blowing toxic fumes into the air. Why is it important to reduce your carbon footprint as a human being? Why is it important to reduce your noise impact on the environment? These are all environmental pollutants. You know, so we have agencies that follow the law and go around Lagos trying to implement the laws through either its motor vehicular cleanliness in terms of exhaust, whether it's generators. But as a people, we need to be responsive by understanding what the problem is. Otherwise, we'll just be a government that's going around punishing people or seemingly punishing people. We don't want to be punishing people because we know that there's a cost to that, but we want the public to understand that you need to service your generators. You need to service your engine in your public transport or your personal car. You need to understand that if you want to build a house, go and ask an architect to help you with a house that is going to require less generator to keep it cool for you to function happily in that house so that your footprint comes down. Everybody's footprint adds up. And if as individuals, we start to understand that we shouldn't waste, we shouldn't put too much carbon into the atmosphere, we should be careful with water, we should service our generators, we should service our car engines, our motorbikes, our buses, then eventually, as a civil environment, the air pollution will go down without too much regulation. The laws are all there. How to implement the laws without seemingly sounding draconian on our citizens is a balancing issue. Because people will say, oh, LASMA is too heavy or this and that on people. But if we don't do it, then people will be driving around one way. People will be belching black smoke into the air. And even if they arrest you, if you know me, you will call me and say, please, LASMA has arrested me. Can you help? That's the way we live in Nigeria. We all know each other and we all try and get off the hook. But the more important thing is to understand what is it that we're doing and what do we need to do collectively as Lagos, collectively as Nigeria, collectively as Africa, collectively as human beings living on a planet that we only have one. And right now, we are doing a fantastic job at destroying that planet. And right now, the climate experts say if we do not stop, we're going to reach a point of no return. By the time we melt up all the ice caps, the North Pole and the South Pole, that's it. You are not leaving anything. There will be no point for you to even think about children or grandchildren because there'll be what will they be living on and for what? So very, very important that we are custodians of our environment, that we are understanding the consequences of what we do, and that it is not just located to Lagos. After all, the Sahara Desert is not in Lagos, it's 1,000 kilometers from here. But we are feeling the effect here because there's economic migrants are leaving a part of Nigeria because there's no source of livelihood in that environment. So you can see how interlinked we are. And then you see on TV every day, people are trying to go from the north of Africa into Italy or into Spain, and then they block them and then they shoot them. I mean, who wants to do that? And why must we subject our people to that kind of environment? So it's important that we everybody look after your space. Plant a tree every month if you can. Reduce your use of air conditioners and diesel. Design your buildings properly. Look at waste management. When your phone is spoiled, don't just throw it in the garbage because it's full of poison. Give it to somebody who can recycle it. You throw it in the garbage, it will go into the garbage, it will rain on it, and the rain will release mercury, all kinds of heavy metals that are terrible for the environment. And it goes into our drinking water and we suffer. So environmental integrity is everybody's business. We all need to become climate conscious and understand that it is our responsibility and everybody has a footprint and you must make your footprint as light as possible. Okay? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Can we give a resounding round of applause to our commissioner? I'm sure some of us have been so enlightened by that discussion. if his talk has changed you, please can I see a show of hands? It has. See, sorry, Prof, can you look around? It has made an impact. And the reason why this audience is so special is that this audience are teachers. And you know that when you teach a teacher, you're not teaching one person, you're teaching generations. And so please, if I may, I want to charge every one of you to take that message, take it home, take it to your schools, take it everywhere, because everyone needs to know. Everyone really needs to know. So it's not, it's something that a lot of people are just going around, not even understanding the impact that they're making. A lot of people have always asked me, how are you a doctor? So all this, you're always going around environment. Now do you understand why? Before it was even the concept of One Health was understood even by me, I already understood that it doesn't matter. You can drink as many smoothies as you like. You can exercise as much as if you are in a toxic, polluted environment, you will be sick. There's just no way you can be healthy in an unhealthy environment. So one more round of applause, please, for our Prof. So now I want to give my talk on the theme for this year. I have a small presentation to make, and our theme for this year is written here. It's called Nature's Resilience, the Beauty of Our World. So first, I want to talk about resilience, and I think I want to say a big thank you to Prof. He's already actually explained quite a lot of it earlier, so I won't need to spend too much time on it. But what is resilience? Resilience is an ability to cope. It's an ability to do well. It's an ability to come back after challenges. And by God's grace, we're all resilient as Nigerians. It's one blow after another. And we keep keeping on, and that's resilience. So how is nature resilient? Nature is resilient because no matter the kind of blows nature has, it still manages to come back. So today or this year, we want to celebrate that. We want to celebrate the beauty of our world. In the past, we've talked about recycling, we've talked about all manner of challenges. But today, what we're saying is, you know what? Let's look on the positive side. Let's see how it is that the world has been able to cope. And so I just want to go into it a little bit. Prof has mentioned ecosystems and the fact that we are all living in a giant ecosystem that's made up of several smaller ecosystems. And the beauty about our world is the biodiversity. It's so many different organisms, each playing its own part, as Prof has said earlier. And these organisms have their niches, and something even as small as a bee. You see this bee here? You know, there was a time that people considered bees to be a nuisance. And so they decided, oh, let's get rid of the bees. You know, it caused the crisis in agriculture because once they didn't have the bees, they could not, the natural propagation of plants and trees and all that stopped. And so now different places are trying to repopulate the bee population. So something as small as that bee is so important. There are loops. And what is a loop? There's a feedback mechanism. I don't need to tell you guys that. You guys know about feedback mechanisms. But in just using an illustration from what our previous speaker said, when you look at a herbivore, for example, a cow, when there are lots of plants around, they start flourishing. They grow, they have lots of babies and so on. And what happens naturally is then they start eating the grass reduces because there's not so much grass left. Guess what? The population reduces. So that is just a natural feedback mechanism that helps to maintain the balance of an ecosystem. And within that, there's so many systems that have been created to encourage recovery. So there's always recovery. After a forest fire, you see, I mean, I think we just go into examples straight away. So the forest fire, you can see a forest fire here. Terrible fires. This is one of the California fires. We see them every year. But amazingly, after the fires, guess what happens? You can see those green shoots coming out. And the landscape after a year or so returns to normal. After hurricanes. And well, we've been talking a lot about climate change. But there seems to be this amazing ability of the earth to bounce back. One of the comments I made was, I remember when we first launched, I did our first launch of the Dawn Project, which was during COVID. When COVID happened, an amazing thing happened over the earth. Places that didn't have, like I think one of the key things was the canals in Venice had fish again. There's some places, after just that short break from and there's so much as humans create, Prof has spoken about. One of the countries that we don't even know on at the oil spills, we disturbing and damaging our important. So the world and nature is very resilient. There's a lot of adaptation that's taking part. And that's what we're celebrating this year. But there's danger because we are at risk of Prof spoke about the point of no return. For those of us who've done all those experiments with, for example, even just the elastic band, you know that you pull the elastic, guess what happens? It what? Exactly. Now, do we want to get there? Do we want to reach a point where our whole environment has crashed? It's a huge concern to us. And loss of biodiversity, as they have to look for bees to replace. There's so many organisms and things. I remember when I grew up on campus, I grew up on University of Lagos campus, butterflies were everywhere. How many of you here remember those butterflies? Butterflies were everywhere. Where are the butterflies? Where are the butterflies? Different colors, shapes, sizes. Where are the butterflies? And that's something that we can see. What are the ones we can't see? What are the ones we don't know? Already that biodiversity is disappearing. We don't want to reach that point. And that's why it's so important that we wake up and we take cognizance of what is going on. And we make sure that we do our own part in trying to recover it. So, our responsibility is to recognize the value of nature's resilience and to take steps to protect it. And so we're hoping by our competition this year, asking people to look and say, show us how you see the resilience of Mother Nature, how you see the creativity that the earth has given to us. An essay. You can actually do it in form of taking pictures. You can draw something. And this year, we're doing something new. First thing, you can put it in song. And that's why we also ask for music teachers. Any music teacher here? Thank you. So we also asked for music teachers because we can put this in song. For me, a poem is a song. Put to it yet. And there's a category for that. But I want to just let us celebrate nature's resilience. Let's celebrate the fact that God has given us, as it were, a second chance or a third chance or a fourth chance. But while we're doing that, let's not take it for granted. Let's not take it for granted. Thank you very much. Okay, it's your turn. Marriage will come now and discuss the guidelines.
Good afternoon, everyone. So the guidelines for the competition, all the guidelines can be found on our website. Anyway, www.dawnproject.org. We have different guidelines or writing categories. We have the essay and poetry, and essay and poetry is under the writing category. The writing guidelines, the essay of poetry must address this year's theme, which is nature's resilience, the beauty of our world. The subjects can enter on different aspects of the theme, or the poetry shouldn't be more than 200 words. For creative designs guidelines, contestants are invited to write an artwork around the theme. The entry should either be arts, photography, graphics, or innovation. For the music guidelines, contestants are invited to create a song around the theme. The submission guidelines to qualify, follow the Dawn Project Network on Instagram website, www.thedawn in the bio to register. Accept the terms and conditions and upload your entries. Entries should have participants' name and categories in their captions. Categories should include writing category age 7 to 13, age 14 to 17, the adult category, which is age 18 and above. The creative design accepts all ages for every category. The creative design, you can submit your entries for all ages. And the music accepts all ages. The only category that has age category is the writing category, which is age 7 to 13, age 14 to 17, and the adult category. All entries will be expertly viewed by our panel of judges. You may paste your entry on Instagram or Twitter or Facebook with the hashtag the Dawn Project Nature's Resilience. Note, all entries should be submitted either in JPEG format or PDF format. The music entries should be submitted in MP3 format on the website. Please be sure to clearly label your work. The students are employed to clearly label their work with their personal details on it, which is school or occupation for adults. They should include this, if possible, their work or contact address. You must also complete the online registration form. All entries must be original work of the contestant submitting and must not be previously published. You cannot steal someone's work to post. We would go through it. Able to enter for this competition. The submission opens today, which is the 21st of March, 2023, and the competition ends on the 5th of June, 2023. We would also have our prize giving day webinar, which is on the 26th of September on World Environmental Health Day. And this year we are offering a special incentive for early submissions. So there's an opportunity for students to win an early bird prize if they submit their entries on or before the 21st of or before the 1st of May 2023. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Any questions about the process? If anybody wants more of the flyers to take out and give away, please, some people are looking for more flyers, Merit. Please, over there, they want more flyers because you can give it out in your school, you can give it out to your friends' schools. Just give it out to as many people and also encourage young people to do it. I think it's, the prices are not bad. What do you think? Really, it's not bad, though. It's not cash, it's a transfer. Sorry, because when you write cash prices, before it actually was cash, we didn't think. Yes, on Sunday, I was at the conference. I said, if anybody had told you last year, you would not have 5,000 naira in your pocket, buy plantain. Am I talking to someone? For me personally, it was Agbalumo that was a problem. My Agbalumo lady, she was not collecting transfer. So this Agbalumo season, I have eaten so much. I love Agbalumo. In fact, there's one lady, I don't know if I should introduce you to her, but she has the best Agbalumo in Lagos. She's very, very close to King's College here. And so that has actually been very painful for me that the season is passing and there's no cash to buy as much Agbalumo as I would love. But that notwithstanding, we look forward to entries coming through. We're also going to, I think we've taken all your numbers. We'll also send you the flyers. Please spread it around because it's more than just a competition. As we said, the whole issue is creating a consciousness, a new consciousness in people about the environment, understanding that it's not just those people over there abroad, because it impacts us and will continue to impact us. And I don't know if you saw this, there was a recent, a write-up that said the top 10 cities in the world of sinking, and Lagos is on that list. And where do we all live? Exactly. So, competition. Yeah, just a little game. We have a gentleman here who's going to help us. And there are prizes to be won, just little prizes. So please feel free to respond to him and take it from here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let me start this way. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. Happy one. If you're happy and you know that you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. All right, thank you very much, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. This session is the interactive environmental games. And I have a few questions here. So if you have answers for any of the questions, you can just signify by raising up your hand, so I'll call on you. And if you're lucky to get the questions right, you have a gift. Okay, the first question I have here. What gas do plants release in the air as a byproduct of photosynthesis? Yeah. You have the answer? Oxygen, correct. Please put your hands together for him. Merit. Okay, please take note. What environmental issue is caused by the release of excessive amounts of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere? Yes, please. No. Oh, okay. Climate change, correct. Put your hands together, please. Does it look like I'm not paying attention to this side? Oh, I said signify by raising up your hand. When you say it out, you are already giving an expert. Right? The 3 hours of waste management. 3 hours, letter hours of waste management. If you have the answer, raise up your hand. Reduce. Correct. Reduce, recycle. Please take note. Let me have his gift before someone break my head. Thank you. The next questions, I'll be taking 2 answers. So if you're lucky to win any of this. What are the causes of climate change? No. I won't give chances to others. Yes, please. You said? Man's activities. No, we have to be precise. Deforestation. Thank you. This guy is a professor. I'm taking deforestation. Too much of what? Please, can you give him a mic, please? I can't hear what he's saying.
Yeah. Too much greener grasses.
Greener grasses?
Gases.
Okay, greenhouse gases. That is pollution. It's correct. You can give me a gift. Yes, that's pollution. I said 2. Now I've extended it to 3. You want to add more? The next question. Okay, the next question. One answer here, please. What are some of the solutions to climate change? Yeah? No? Okay. Afforestation. That's the. Thank you so much. Thank you very much, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, and Kings of Winner the First.
So for our listening pleasure, we have one of our former winners to give us a recital of his poem, Victory.
Good afternoon, distinguished guest. All protocols duly observed. Victory Ashoka is my name. I'm a spoken word poet and ambassador for the Dawn Project Network. So I'm so excited to join us today, this afternoon, for the launch of the Dawn Project competition. Yes, I remember back in 2021 when I emerged as the winner, having participated. And since then, I have been at different events by the Dawn Project Network, and it's such an opportunity. So a global crisis shocked the world and caused a tragic number of deaths back in 2020. But as awful as the pandemic is, climate change can be worse. So that is why we are basically advocating for sustainability, for climate action. So before I perform my spoken word piece, I'd like us to just sing this song, just the verse. Heal the world, make it a better place for you and for me and the entire human race. If you care enough for the living, make it a better place for you and for me. Let's go one more time. Make it a better place for you and for me. It's a human race. Keep dying. If you care enough for the living, make it a better place for you. Dear human race,
Behold the terrain of history to know that our world has no natural start. From life on Earth and the ecosystem on this planet, we are leaving our carbon footprints like a giant scar and ignoring the warnings, chaos, and instability so far. Every day we see the data and statistics piling up high, yet we easily turn a blind eye despite being faced with the horror of climate change that the oppressed and poor mostly bear the brunt. This social impediment is right before our eyes because we refuse to realize that this fight isn't just to gratify nature, but to preserve creatures for the future. From drought in Africa to wildfires in Australia, from volcanic eruption in Europe to flooding in Asia, from dry corridors in Central America to hurricane in Hawaii, Honolulu, Philippines, and the Pacific. Global warming has swept through hectares of land, killed millions of people and billions of native animals, razed entire communities to the ground, taken the homes of numerous families, and left millions of people choked in hazardous smoky haze and greenhouse gas emission. Some species and ecosystem may never recover from extinction. The world is burning, and we, as descendants of this era, must rise to rescue our identities from human frailty. Nature exists so that we may exist along with it. Nature exists so that we may exist along with it. But this global crisis is swiftly becoming the world's biggest catastrophe with disastrous rippling effects. Life on Earth is ecologically regressive through burning coals that melt upon the surface of snow shelves and ice glaciers. Our lifeline of renewable energy is not extending fast enough. We must turn away from the energy of fossil fuel, the energy of death, destruction, and casualty. Clean, affordable, and renewable, the energy of life and sustainability. I think climate justice is what the world requires, and time is a currency to purchase our desires. Time is a currency to purchase our desires. The world has a deadline, but let's turn it to a lifeline. We are human race. Arise, all white and black and yellow and red. Stop deforestation. Rainforests can be cut forever, and anything we can't do forever is unsustainable. So let's embrace tree planting for good breathing, to transit from being apart from nature to being a part of nature, to transit from being apart from nature to being a part of nature. But it's not just about saving our planet, but saving us. We love nature that the future may lead. The intriguing thing about truth is, although it can be denied, it can never be avoided. Much attention is paid to ices with less than none to why the ice is melting and oceans are rising. The earth is warming, carbon level is heat trapping for humans to keep on living. Climate change is everyone's problem. So let's brace ourselves to fight without lifting the sword, but together, leaving no one behind for a sustainable world. Thank you.
That was lovely. Thank you, Victory. Thank you. So as all good things must come to an end, but this end is just the beginning of the competition. So without further ado, can I bring on one of our other collaborators, Mrs. Angela Emua, for the vote of thanks.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sure you'll find that this has been a very enlightening and very exciting afternoon. Yes. Victory, that was amazing. And I think everybody must have gotten the message from your spoken word. On behalf of the Dawn Project, I would like to express our sincere gratitude to everyone who made the launch of the 2023 competition a success. We are delighted to have had the Commissioner of Health for Lagos State, Professor Akin Abayomi, and of course, all the teachers present. We appreciate you. We appreciate our sponsors, ARC Insurance, Bridge Clinic, Lufasi Park, Punch Newspapers, Swift, and MediCenter for their unwavering support towards promoting environmental sustainability and inspiring the next generation of environmental leaders. The theme of this year's competition, as you all heard, is Nature's Resilience, the Beauty of Our World. It highlights the importance of preserving and protecting our environment. And we believe that this competition will create awareness and encourage actions, especially among our young people, that will contribute to a cleaner and safer environment. We look forward to receiving entries from participants across Nigeria, and we are confident that this competition will help to raise the level of environmental consciousness, and responsibility among young people. So teachers, we're counting on you. Please let your students send in their entries. And so we wish all the prospective competitors very good luck. And we thank everyone for coming and wish you all the best and have a good rest of the day. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, giving us.
Just the well, just let people know that okay.
Yes, the budget saying people actually usually So we're going to have a photo section with the teachers from various schools with the collaborators of Dawn Project. So if you're a teacher from any of the schools, can you please come forward so we can have a group photo?
Well done, my dear.
Just like you know.
So we're going to have a group photo.
Yeah.
You want us again?
Photo.
Teach.
Yeah. Waiting for. I'm waiting for Dr. Pamela Ajayi to join us, please. Okay, thank you.